Hey guys, today's training topic came from Luis Gomez. Luis suggested that we do a training video on the keyword planner tool in Google AdWords, so that's what we'll tackle today. And then moving forward, if you guys want to see any particular videos, training topics, send them to me. Email me at ricky.detagle@dexmedia.com, and we'll get to as many topics as as they come in. So today we'll do the Google AdWords Planner tool, and let's just get started. So first we gotta get into Google AdWords. Okay, and so once you're here, you're going to need to create an AdWords account or sign into an existing one. The tools in here are going to be free, so you can just create one. So I'm already signed in. It recognizes me, obviously. And to back up a little bit, your browser is going to have to be up to date as well to create the Google AdWords account. For Internet Explorer, I think at this point it's going to be Internet Explorer 11, but once you get into the AdWords page, it'll actually prompt you if your browser is not up to date and Google AdWords can't support it. So I'm actually on a home laptop, and so I'm using Chrome today for the exercise. So once you're in AdWords, you're going to see this page first. To use the Keyword Planner, you're going to want to go into the Tools tab and just come down here to the Keyword Planner option. So this is the page that you're going to see once you're in the Keyword Planner. It's a pretty intuitive system. It's going to ask you what you like to do. So we're going to start here with this box for search new keyword and ad group ideas. Right here in the first box for your product or service. For today's exercise, let's pretend that we're doing research for a plumber. So in here, you can put as many kind of headings as you'd like. So depending on what you've discussed with the client, I typically like to put in a few different ideas just to give Google more of a variation and to give me more suggestions. So we can put in plumbers, we can put in plumbing repair, and let's just say this specific client is focusing also on water heater installation. Okay. You don't necessarily need to put a landing page or an exact product category. That's more for if you're specifically planning out a Google AdWords program. So we can leave that blank for this exercise. You want to pick your cities. So in here, I've already got some pre-populated. I've got the whole Vegas area, but you can remove and add cities as you wish. Okay. So this is just going to be Vegas and its surrounding areas. And then here, there's some different options on how you want to target basically your keywords. So not only your headings, or excuse me, your cities, then the language. So here, Google, you can choose between Google and its search partners. We're going to just stay on Google and exclude their extended network at this point. Negative keywords, probably more necessary if you were really diving deep into a keyword strategy with the client. So not necessary, at least here for a high-level explanation of this tool. But the date range is something that you can manipulate as you'd like. You can choose it to just be a 1 or 2, as many months outlook as you'd like to see. You can also even turn this compare button on, so you can compare year over year or month to month, things of that nature. I usually like to keep a 12-month rolling going. The only reason for that is I just find a 12-month rolling to be the most, let's say, objective in its information, because it'll take account any seasonality or let's say holiday season, back to school, things of that nature, and it'll account for all that. And so I usually use that. Okay, so once you've picked all that, press Get Ideas, and then it's going to take you to this page. Okay, so this is going to be the suggestions based on the headings that we chose of the keywords that Google is suggesting that are around that, loosely at least related to those headings that were chosen. So let's start with the top of the page. Okay, you can search the trends into basically different breakdowns. Okay, so it starts with the just pure search volume trends. How many searches existed in these months of the date parameters that you chose? This will enable us to spot any seasonality if need be. Obviously, being a plumber, not much seasonality. We got a low of about 6,800 here. Looks like a high of, just over 10,000. So nothing too dramatic like a air conditioning HVAC company. So, okay, then you can go in here, mobile trends. So you got the blue bar here is the total search, green being mobile. So you can see what the trends here are there, seeing that the last 4 months have spiked upwards in mobile searches. And then here's a couple of tabs that I like and I use often. So the breakdown by device, it's going to tell you whether everything came from a computer, mobile, or tablet. In this scenario, Vegas for plumbers, we see that over half the search, now close to 55% of the search, is coming from a mobile device. So it's a great way to just have a conversation with a client to let them know where their customers are coming from. And it enables us to kind of manipulate information on their website based on this. A PC search is going to be vastly different than a mobile search. And so as they become more mobile, the message can then be kind of directed towards that, more calls to actions, things of that nature. Okay. And then here, breakdown by location, also a great one. So I picked 4 cities, and you can see the breakdown in search volume for those 4 cities. So I find this to be very useful in a scenario where, let's say, the client's budgets are very tight. So when they're tight, it allows us to kind of guide them to the best usage of their budget for, let's say, get more bang for your buck, if you will. So, if their budgets are tighter, to focus all their efforts mostly in Las Vegas because that's where the majority of searches are. Or if they're really tight and they want to focus closer to, let's say, their corporate headquarters, and maybe they just want to focus on Henderson, even though it's only 20% of the pie, but it's closer and their budget kind of allows for that. So this enables us to have that conversation with them. So below that are going to be the keywords that Google suggests. Okay, so what we're going to do with these keywords is we're going to find the keywords that we find to be relevant and that we want to speak to the client, and we're going to add them to the plan over here, which then we can export to Excel and then manipulate however we would like. They actually have an add all 57, so in this particular instance, we have 57 ad groups for these headings. I would discourage you from adding all of them and then just pulling all of them to Excel, even though you're going to get a very high volume of keywords, which can be impressive to the client. But let me show you why I wouldn't suggest this. So Google, no matter how specific you get in your headings and how specific you get in your geographic targeted area, it's always going to provide some type of irrelevant keywords. Okay? And so let me show you what I mean by that. Let me find some here. Okay, so here's a great example. So here's an ad group of Dallas. So plumbers Dallas, Dallas plumber, etc. Right? And you have 10 searches per month for each of these keywords. So when I used to see this on the tool, I just assumed that it was, let's say, a Las Vegas IP address 10 times a month would search for plumbers in Dallas, but the IP address came from Vegas. So I wasn't sure, so I wanted to call Google and confirm this. So I got on the line and was speaking to a Google representative, and their answer was, unfortunately, was unsatisfactory to us. They said that based on the headings and the cities that I had selected, that these were popular search words within those guidelines. So my response was, well, they're not very popular because you're only seeing 10 searches a month here for these keywords. And the response at that point was basically that's where it was left at. He was going to try to forward the question to somebody above himself, and they were going to get back to me with an email, and unfortunately I haven't received that email. So for right now, we're just going to chalk it up as a slight error in the tool itself. So, but with that said, that's why I wouldn't suggest adding all the plans, because then you're going to add irrelevant keywords, and then when you show that spreadsheet to the client, it just makes for a more difficult conversation. Okay, so what you can do is just look at each individual keyword. Okay, or ad groups, and then the keywords within it. So like water heater, right? It says here that there are 83 keywords within this ad group. So if you click on it, you get to see some of those keywords, right? Hot water heater, A.O. Smith water heater, Bradford White, etc. And so you can just decide whether this is relevant or not to speak to with the client. So this, for the sake of this exercise, let's just pick a few ad groups. And let's go from there and then at least show you guys how to funnel it in Excel. So let's pick this as the water heater ad group. Okay. So you can add it to plan here with just this arrow. So just click on that and it'll move it over here. And let's take this plumbing. It's got 96 keywords in there. Like I said, like I would advise you to do is open it up and take a look at the keywords. Make sure that you feel like they're relevant, but for the just for time's sake, let's just funnel it over and pretend that they're relevant. Okay, so once you have everything here, as you can see here, as you funnel more keywords over, Google actually starts giving you a plan. So they say, okay, based on the keywords that you selected, these 170 some keywords, you could potentially get up to about 83 clicks a day, upwards of a cost of $759 a day is the potential of traffic that's out there. So I don't want this to interfere, because this is very similar, let's say, to the SPAT tool on the former Superside. So we don't want this to replace the SPAT tool. We want you to use this in conjunction with the SPAT tool. Just basically another, let's say, avenue for you to get traffic data. Okay. So once you have the keywords that you like selected, click on this little arrow down here to download the plan. Choose Excel, so then you can manipulate the data and then download it. Save the file. You'll usually see the file pop up down here. Once it's done downloading, open it up. Okay, here we go. So once it's in Excel, you can obviously manipulate the data however you'd like. Choose the columns that you want to show and hide, etc. So I will hide the columns that just make the spreadsheet look a little sloppier. Usually the columns that I keep are the keyword column, the average monthly traffic volumes for that, and suggested bid. Everything else I will just hide, just to make it a cleaner looking spreadsheet for, just for the sales call. Okay. Okay, now you've got your data the way you like it. And then one other thing I would probably suggest is highlight the top row with the titles of the columns that you kept, and I would filter it. And so I'm using Excel on a Mac computer, and so on a Mac, Excel looks vastly different than what we're going to see using our work computers for Excel on Windows. So for Mac, in order to filter, I have to press this button right here, and it gives me these filter drop downs. Okay, you see there? On Windows, you're going to see over here towards the right hand side, you're going to see a drop down menu that says sort and filter. Press the drop down menu, and then you're going to see an actual option that just says filter. You're going to press on that, and it's going to give you these same drop down options. So the reason I would suggest to do a filter is most ad groups that you get from Google AdWords will contain some keywords that have a 0 traffic volume. I just prefer to remove those just to have an easier conversation with the client when discussing it. Okay? So I would clear it. I would clear the zeros. And then when you look at the report, you're going to see that all the keywords have traffic volume then. Okay? Then another thing you could do when you filter is you can manipulate obviously the numbers from largest to smallest or smallest to largest. So then you can strategize with the client about which keywords are getting the most traffic and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much it, guys. Email me if you have any questions. Again, it's Ricky.Tagle at dexmedia.com. If you have any questions specifically about the keyword planner, or you want to dive into it deeper, I'm more than happy to get into the weeds with it with you guys one-on-one. And email me any topics that you want to see moving forward. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful, and we'll see you soon with another video. Thanks, guys.